The first rheumatologist I saw was very good. He basically said, you know, it's the toughest people that you will come across, the people with rheumatoid arthritis, because they've had to learn, you know, and deal with the disease. Two years ago, when I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, everything was good in my life. Doing well, playing a lot of sport, playing Oz tag at a high level. My job was going quite well, working in the city as a financial officer, so everything was going well and kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. Well, because I did play a lot of sport and I was used to getting a lot of niggly injuries, I thought that it was a follow-on from one of those, especially because I only just started playing netball again. I hadn't played for a few years. Feet hurting, netball, jumping up and down. I just thought that's what it was, until I started to get it in my elbows and then my shoulders and my hands, and it just didn't add up why I had all these pains that weren't making sense. It wasn't from any repetitive movement I'd been doing. So that's why I went to the doctor to get checked out.
Well, I met Christy early 2010, and she had moved up from Sydney and got married on the way at Coffs Harbour. And Christy was in a pretty sorry state with her arthritis.
I was very stiff. Everything was hurting. Felt like I couldn't straighten my arms. My shoulders were hurting. Feet were like just hurt to wake up in the morning and put my feet on the ground.
She was a young, fit girl, and suddenly, out of the blue, she developed this disease and had all the issues of moving interstate and getting married as well. And we just needed to make a management plan and help her to get to grips with her disease and what the future was going to hold for her in an optimistic way, a realistic but optimistic way.
I'm lucky with my rheumatologist because she's very understanding. She knows my story from the start. Even though I didn't start with Claire, she's had a close relationship to my rheumatologist in Sydney. So, I mean, I've shed many tears in her office. I've now stopped shedding tears because I do feel so much better. But at the start, it was guaranteed I'd need tissues every time. I was angry because I looked after myself so well. I ate healthily, always did a lot of exercise, and I still ended up with a disease that I didn't know where it came from. It was also frustrating with people not understanding exactly what I was going through and just not believing me is what I felt. They didn't believe that I was really ill. It was very hard for people at work to understand and people that I played sport with to understand because I looked fine. Yeah, it's very important to have a lot of family and friends that do research themselves and try and understand, even if it's just a little bit, just try and understand what it is you're going through, that you are in pain, you can't do the things that you could always do before.
When I met Christy, she'd been diagnosed with rheumatoid and she'd started some treatment. Unfortunately, she hadn't been able to tolerate it. So we worked through the next step, what options were available to her, both in terms of modifying her symptoms and also altering the long-term outcome for her disease.
There were some nasty side effects to some of them that I didn't appreciate at all, but it's all in the progress of getting the right medication for you. Eventually, the medication that I was able to be approved for by the government, thanks to Claire's work, I was able to be a lot healthier, a lot happier, and I'm pregnant now, so everything works out quite well.
With rheumatoid arthritis, most people won't get an adverse reaction to their medication, but most people will get a problem with their disease if they don't get it effectively treated early.
So the drugs that I'm taking now will not only help me to feel better now, get the swelling down now, but in 10, 20 years' time, I won't have that joint damage that could have been caused if I wasn't on the medication. My husband was very supportive at the time. He did research on his own and he looked at the bad stuff for me and said, yeah, don't look at it. But I still felt like I need to speak to someone who was going through the same thing as me. So I met a few other people with rheumatoid arthritis through a meeting that we had at Arthritis Queensland. It was called Swell Girls, and a lot of girls got together who actually had the same disease as me and sat in a room and could look around, and all these people in this room going through exactly what I'd been through. So it was really good to swap stories, and I now catch up with a couple of them, have coffee every now and then to see how they're going with their medications, and like we even like talk about where they do their injections, when they have to do injections and things like that. And it really helps because they know what you're going through, and it makes you feel a lot better.
Christy's life change was quite dramatic. She was well, fit, and then unwell. Some people, the disease creeps on them and they just feel that they're getting older, a little bit tireder. So if there are changes where your joints are stiff in the morning for more than 30 minutes, or you have a swollen joint that persists for more than a couple of weeks, it's worth checking it out, worth raising the question with your GP.
Fitness is very important to me, and I'm lucky my husband is very into his fitness as well, so together he's going to help me to get back in shape after the baby, because I will be going back to work full time as well, so I want to get back in playing OzTag and hopefully go and play State Cup OzTag again. That's my goal, and I want to get back into my running. So it'll be a slow process and I have to build back up to it, but I think it'll be worth it in the end.
Well, Christy was unlucky to get her disease, but having got her disease, she has made some of her luck because she has listened and she has weighed up the pros and cons. She has chosen to ignore things that possibly don't have a great deal of evidence behind them. She exercises, she keeps herself fit, she tries to eat properly, she doesn't smoke. All of those things fit together in a jigsaw puzzle that, with her commitment to getting well and a commitment to taking advice, she has the possibility of leading a completely normal life. She may or may not need to take long-term treatment. We don't know that yet. It depends on her response. But there she is, a young lady with a chronic disease, working, having a family, taking her medicines properly. She's taking control.
Now that I am on the other end of the tunnel and I do feel so much better, everything's bright for me now. I look back at the times where it was very dark. I was always in pain and quite depressed, and it feels like I've really conquered the disease, and it's strengthening for the future.
If you have arthritis and you live in Australia, call our helpline 1800 011 041 to talk to a health professional and arrange a free information pack to be sent to you.